Let's go. Awesome. What is going on YouTube? Hope everyone is doing well. Hope your day's going great. It's a great Sunday. Guys, this has been a long time coming. We finally got a special guest. Very excited to welcome her, AAHANA. She's definitely someone that is an inspiration. She's someone that I've looked up to, when I was early on upon my journey. And she's one of the leaders of the Nofap and, all sexual purity community and stuff. So you can kind of go and introduce yourself.
Sure. Thanks so much for having me on. I'm totally flattered. And I started making content about this kind of stuff around somewhere around 2016, 2017. My opinions have changed a lot since then, but this will be a fun collaboration. I'm excited.
Let's do it. Awesome. So first and foremost, again, glad that you're here. I do have some questions, and also on top of that, guys, if you guys have any questions for her or just in general, please let us know, and then we'll definitely answer it. So awesome. So AAHANA, is that you say it right?
Yeah, AAHANA.
AAHANA. Okay. I remember somebody said like Alana, or then it was
Yeah.
like Alana or AAHANA. Okay.
Well, so my actual name is Alana, but on YouTube I just go by AAHANA. You can call me either one, doesn't
Okay.
matter.
Yeah, I'm gonna go by AAHANA. That's okay.
Okay.
AAHANA. Awesome. So tell me. So I know that you're a coach, okay, and you help other women who have husbands that struggle with pornography, so on and so forth. Kind of tell me like what motivated you to kind of get into that space, because I know a lot of people don't really talk about the subject. So
Yeah, so basically, when I was making content on overcoming porn addiction, I realized, I mean, at the time when I was making content on that, I didn't really have an audience in mind, but I just noticed that it was a mostly male audience that ended up consuming that content. And so after some time went by, I just started to see that there were a lot of other people in the space making content for men and helping them overcome porn addiction. And then, every now and then a woman would reach out to me asking me for help because her husband was struggling with porn addiction, or she was dating a guy who had porn addiction, and it was really hard for her and she didn't know how to handle it. And so, then my friend and business partner Jenny, she started an Instagram page helping women identify the signs of porn addiction in men, and she knew what I had been doing too. So we decided to partner up together to help the women who are with men who have porn addictions, because that's a demographic that gets forgotten about a lot. There's so much content out there helping the porn addicts, but really not a lot helping the people who these porn addicts are in relationships with. So yeah.
first of all, that's awesome, and I want to go and say like thank you for being the one to step out and actually provide information, content, so on and so forth, for women that have husbands that kind of struggle with it. So shout out to you for that.
Awesome.
Shout out to you. So yeah, before we get into that, like, because I definitely want to talk about like the relationship standpoint and what pornography can do.
Mhm.
Um, but some of the people do want to know, because there's a lot of Christians on here, a lot of Christian men that want to go in the dating scene, things like that. Um, and they want to know this one thing: can women sense a man that is on NoFap? Can women sense?
Well, I think that so my opinions on NoFap have actually changed quite a bit since I first started making content about it, but I think there is definitely truth to women knowing the difference between men who watch porn and men who don't. The men who are watching porn, who have a lot of struggles with masturbating a lot and watching all this porn, they just tend to be more passive. I think passivity is the number one sign. And so when a woman comes across a man who's a bit more assertive and who has good social skills, knows how to make eye contact, has that kind of spark to him, he's like into things in his life, it definitely stands out and it makes a woman very attracted to a man. And usually those qualities mean that a man is not watching porn. Because, yeah, yeah, I think, does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think that, yeah, for sure, 100%. So like with that being said, 'cause I know you said how you can kind of sense that, like, with the eye contact, the the having like the authority of life, things like that. So what are some other things? Because I know that you're on your sexual purity journey as well. So
Mhm.
what are some other things that you can tell, like in a guy who's watching pornography? Like if you just were to see him and stuff like that, you know?
He tends to be a bit awkward socially. He tends to kind of have a hard time making conversation with people. He'll tend to keep to himself a bit more and not, there's a difference between a guy who's just naturally introverted versus a guy who is genuinely awkward and like socially anxious, like they tend to have a lot of social anxiety, and a lot of times they also tend to be a bit, yeah, just a bit more passive. They will wait for things to happen to them as opposed to trying to make something happen in the world, like they'll want the women to come to them versus them approaching the woman. And even if they do manage to approach a woman, it's hard for them to kind of take the reins from there and guide the relationship forward. They also tend to be a bit more immature. I think that there's a certain immaturity that comes with men who don't watch, or that comes with men who do watch porn, where there's a sense of like there's just a sense of maturity that happens to a man when he doesn't watch porn. He's more connected to his sexuality in a way where he can flirt with a woman and he can like bring the sexual tension about with a woman without it being weird, versus with a guy who's watching porn is very like not attuned to that. He might be very awkward if he tries to flirt, or he might be very kind of like just socially maladjusted in some kind of way.
Mhm.
um, Men who watch porn, they also kind of tend to be more consumers than creators in most of their lives, where they'll just take a passive role to everything. They're not really interested in like putting anything out there. Yeah, I think those are the main signs that come off the top of my head.
100%. Now, okay, so Ahana, like, I think that a lot of the men, like, they want to know this too. Like, being, like, obviously, like, you're a Christian woman and stuff like that. So obviously, you want to find, obviously a godly man, Ephesians 5 male, so on and so forth. So there's a lot of Christians out here that are on the dating scene, but like over 67% of Christian men, they watch pornography and stuff.
Hmm.
How can you detest between like when you're going on the dating scene, a man who's watching pornography and a man that's not watching pornography, and even though they're both Christians and stuff like that, you know?
Um, well, when it comes to the whole faith thing, like my faith is very personal to me, so it's not something that I like talk about a whole lot. I kind of have a bit more of like a quiet experience of it. And I would say what I have noticed, I mean, it may not be true all the time, but what I have seen, because, I had a friend, I mean, I still have a friend. She's one of my best friends right now. And, she comes from a very Christian background. And she was with this guy for 10 years. They were married. They were both virgins until marriage and everything. They were each other's first. He was a Christian. He wanted to be a pastor. And then later on, she found out that he was extremely addicted to tranny porn, and he was contacting tranny prostitutes and things like this. So just because someone is a Christian, and just because they might be doing all of the just because they might be living their life in like a Christian way, like waiting till marriage to have sex, all these kinds of things, I learned that it doesn't necessarily mean much because I think that what speaks to someone's I think that what speaks to someone's character more rather than just like what they say is how they're behaving. And so, so she told me that, sure, he might have waited until marriage to have sex, but when it came down to other things in the relationship, he was awkward and he didn't have a good sense of camaraderie with other men. He would be awkward around other men. He didn't know how to have good friendships in his life. He was very socially isolated. He was also very kind of passive. And so those were some signs that should have been red flags. And I think that, if I were to start dating someone, no matter what they say, if I notice that they lack some kind of purpose in their lives, if I notice that they're socially awkward, if I notice that they're taking a passive role in everything, I'm not going to be as likely to pay attention to what they say. I'm just going to pay attention to like what they're actually doing with their lives and how their behavior is, how they're what they're doing with their free time. Like, do they have hobbies? Do they have interests? Do they have something that they're passionate about that they're working on? And more importantly, how they make me feel. Because I think that in general, when a woman is with a man who's watching porn, she's going to feel anxious and insecure and a bit unstable, and she won't really know why. Whereas with the man who doesn't watch porn, he'll know how to make a woman feel comfortable. He'll know how to make her feel safe in his presence and guided, and kind of just he'll know how to make her feel like a woman, because I think and yeah, when it comes to like the whole sexual purity and everything, I think that a lot of the message can get lost when it comes to like the actual dynamics of attraction. Like,
Mm.
a man might be on Nofap or something for years and years and years, but if he still hasn't learned how to interact with a woman in like a positive, healthy way, if he hasn't learned how to like embrace his sexuality in a healthy way, then it's kind of it kind of misses the point, if that makes sense.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I definitely agree with that because I do believe that, um, when it comes to like the husband and the wife, they're supposed to like the husband's supposed to find the woman attractive. And I remember you said in one of your lives, like the woman shouldn't really be initiating in terms of like intimacy and stuff like that. You know what I mean? I remember
Mhm.
seeing that. And yeah, like when a man is watching pornography, it's just hard for him to have that mentality of going to intimacy because the truth is he watched another woman, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And he's focused on another woman than he's focused on him, his wife. So
Exactly.
yeah, 100%. So yeah, so with that being said, I know that a lot of people they want to get a man that is able to provide, a man that's able to provide and protect. But we can also learn to the chat too, like 56% of divorces are initiated from pornography use.
Mm.
So how is it important? Like how important is it in a relationship compared with money and compared with a man that's like on his sexual purity journey, like not watching pornography and stuff. Like how important is that in a relationship?
Hmm. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I think I mean, it's hard to say because, I myself, I'm not married, so I'm not like an expert on marriage, and I'm not an expert on relationships. What I consider myself an expert on is like knowing if a man is watching porn or not and how to avoid a guy like that. But when it comes to marriage, I try to look up to people who have marriages that I would want to have one day. And so I can kind of compare and contrast the marriages that I wouldn't want to have versus the marriages that I would want to have. And what I've noticed in the marriages that I would want to have is that neither person really seems to have this like checklist of boxes of things that they're just like ticking off. It's really just they love the person. Like they meet the person, they genuinely just love them, and from there they just commit, and they can make a relationship work. And I think that when a man is watching porn, it makes him incapable of falling in love. And so when a woman is with a man like this, she's going to notice that she's going to have to play a leadership role. She's going to have to be in the driver's seat. She's going to have to be the one calling all the shots. She might be a bit more nagging and critical and controlling in the relationship. And ultimately, there's a huge lack of attraction and a lack of love in these marriages that are like this that I've seen.
Mhm.
Whereas in the marriages who I've seen really last, and who I would want to have one day, it's not like either person was on Nofap or either person was on like a sexual purity journey. It's just that they were both socially well adjusted. Neither of them had addictions coming into the relationship, and they both had the capacity to fall in love. And then when they met, there was a connection there, there was attraction there. They were both able to relate to each other in a healthy way, and they were able to communicate in a healthy way, and they just made the decision to commit. And so I think a lot of times these days people really operate out of fear, and they operate out of like a selfishness, um, trying to see what they can get from the other person as opposed to what they can give to the other person, and if they just genuinely love them. And so yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, but I think like I was just watching this interview with Terry Irwin, Steve Irwin's wife,
Mhm.
and
Oh yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Exactly.
and they were talking about how when they first met, it was just like this whew, like explosion of love and
Yeah.
attraction, and it wasn't like lustful. It was like a soul-based connection where they just recognized each other and they fell
Yeah.
in love. And like,
So amazing.
yeah, and I don't think either of them was asking, like, oh, how much money does he make? Is he on Nofap for these many years?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
and I bet he's not asking her like, oh, what's your body count?
Mhm.
Like, like how many men have you slept with? Like, what's this?
Yeah,
What's that? It's like they were just a mutual understanding and a mutual connection there.
it's so powerful because, like, I was actually seeing that too. His
Mhm.
name is Steve Irwin, right?
Yeah.
Steve Irwin. I was seeing the joy in his eyes and stuff. And I was like, wow, that's awesome. But I noticed that, like, a lot of women don't really experience that. You know what I mean? Like, they don't
Mhm.
really get a chance to experience that because, like, a lot of men do watch pornography. So I mean, they can't operate in that mode and stuff.
Mhm.
Um, and on top of that, like, I know you have some stories too. Like, I've had some stories. I know you talked about how there's, you were dealing with a woman's husband that was watching like transgender porn.
Mhm.
That's literally like, we got on a lot of calls and stuff. You know what I mean? And we've heard some crazy stuff. Just some really crazy stuff of how they watch like regular pornography, then watching this type of porn. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And so, like, tell me, like, what are some of the crazy stories, or what are some stories that you have that your clients may have went through?
The tranny porn is a pretty big one. And it's surprising to see how many men actually deal with this. I actually had met with quite a few guys in the military who were watching a lot of tranny porn. And it's interesting because, on the surface level, they might seem very surface level, like very masculine, very like, physically fit and very, I don't know, like the stereotype of what we think masculinity is, like they're in the military. But behind closed doors, they're watching all this tranny porn. So it just goes to show you how deeply impactful pornography actually is on the brain, and like how it can really implant these things into you that wouldn't have been there had you not seen it. So um yeah, a lot of guys into tranny porn. I've also talked to quite a few guys who felt like watching porn turned them gay, like where they started watching just straight up gay porn. And then they started to want to experience that in real life eventually. And then the whole transgender thing too. I have talked to quite a few people also who somehow through watching pornography, they start to feel turned on by the idea of being the opposite sex, and they want to start cross-dressing, and they want to start,
Crazy.
doing things like that. And so I think I actually wonder if that's what a lot of the transgender movement is today, if it's just like a deep, deep porn addiction that eventually like led there or something.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
That's very sad because, like, yeah, that's extremely sad. A lot of men are going through this, um, and most importantly, a lot of women are going through this. Like, 80% of divorce is initiated from women,
Mhm.
right? So it's like, it just shows you that, like, if the man's not taking leadership of his own life, you know what I mean? Like, a man can provide, do all those things, but if he's not taking care of his pornography journey, quitting
Mhm.
pornography, so on and so forth, then that can totally ruin the relationship. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so, yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about too, is S3X, sex. You know what I mean? Like, in a relationship.
Mhm.
So I know you have some stories of, like, you know, um, the woman's husband dealing with erectile dysfunction and stuff. And I've gotten a lot of calls like men are not able to perform, things like that. So how how big of an effect is that on, like, a woman when a man is having those problems?
Oh my gosh, that's such a good question. I think a lot of women really struggle with insecurity. They feel like it must be them, because I mean, I've seen stories, my business partner and best friend Jenny, she's heard stories from, these beautiful 20-something-year-old women who are dating men in their age group who can't get it up for her, and it's like, this is a 20-something-year-old woman. She's got all the beauty in the world, and these guys can't stay aroused with her. And for a woman to be dealing with that, it makes her deeply insecure. It makes her wonder if there's something wrong with her. It makes her wonder, if it's something about her. And when she finds out that the guy's watching porn, she'll typically start to compare herself with all these other porn stars that he's watching and everything. And it's really sad because, um, if you have these women in their prime who are feeling this way, it makes them feel very discouraged about the future. It makes them feel very discouraged about what things are going to be like down the line when, I mean, I've heard a lot of women express the concern of like, what's going to happen when I don't even have my beauty anymore, like after I age and, age out of my beauty, then what? Like, he can't even get hard for me now when I'm
Yeah.
like, young and everything. And unfortunately, the longer a woman stays with a guy who's like this, the more she's going to internalize those feelings, and she's going to, really start to think something is wrong with her. So yeah, it's not good for her self-esteem. It's not good for her confidence. And yeah, it's a sad situation.
Yeah, it's very sad, 100%. Like what I've noticed is that, you know, it's all about like self-respect. If you're not respecting yourself, you can't respect the other person. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And that, like a lot of people, a lot of men, they're not really having that self-respect. You know what I mean? They're not really. They're just losing their seat, just giving their seat out. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And it's caused them to not really have the attachment towards their wife and stuff. And I've seen it time and time again too. Like, I'll even be out in public in the way like the husband would treat the woman, so on and so forth, and it's very negative. It's not anything good. And the woman's trying to seek attention from the male, but the male's not giving her any attention. So and so that's gonna go with my next question. So I know that like when it comes down to because I was watching the interview. Shout out to Jenny. You guys got to go see AAHANA and Jenny on the YouTube page. Jenny's absolutely hilarious. You know what I mean? I was crying laughing. Look, I was crying laughing when I was just. I don't normally cry laugh, guys, but I'm telling you how AAHANA stays so calm when she says something. You know what I mean?
Oh, the jerky, jerky, jerky
Jerky,
thing.
jerky, jerky, jerky. You know what I mean? And I'm like over here crying, laughing. I'm literally like, I think I fell to my knees. I was like, bruh. And I had to rewind it. I went on the thing. I was like, bro, did she really just say that, bro? You know what I mean? So I was like, dang. But yeah, so like I know that everyone, a lot of the men want to be in a relationship. Like even some of my clients, like they talk about like, okay, I want to go on a date. I think I'm ready to on the dating scene, but they're only on day two. They're only
Mhm.
on day four of Nofap. Do you feel like they would be ready, like to go on the dating scene, or do you feel like they need to build that foundation up, with quitting pornography, going out, a couple months, so on and so forth? How do you feel about that?
Hmm. That's a good question. I mean, I f- it's hard because I think it honestly has less to do with how long you're on NoFap for, or even if you're on NoFap at all. Like, I don't even know if these things are important. I think
Mm.
it's more just about operating authentically, So if you stay off of pornography, if you're starting to get rid of it from your life, and you're starting to really have a change of heart about pornography, your natural instincts should lead you in the direction of talking to women. Like, it should just naturally be coming out of you, because if you're not getting your rocks off to porn, then, what else, what other outlet do you have other than talking to the women around you, trying to set up dates, trying to talk to them? I think you should just be operating out of your natural instincts as a man. And so, you know, if you quit porn, just wait. Wait as long as you need to before your body will start pulling you towards women in your day-to-day life, you're going to start to naturally want to talk to them more. And it should come out of you naturally, where you're just, you see a woman you think's really hot, you go and talk to her, you flirt with her, you get her number, you ask her out on a date, you set it up. It should feel like second nature,
Exactly.
and if a man's not used to doing that, then it might take him some time at first to dip his toes in the water and start getting out there and doing those things. But you just want to be in a position where your natural instinct is to talk to women and to get them on dates and to be around them, and then it should flow. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it should flow 100%. And I do agree with that, because I feel like when it comes to like how men see women and stuff in today's world, it's definitely it's just more so in a lustful way. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
it's not really like an authentic vibe, so on and so forth. Like when you're connecting with the woman and all the friends, hey, did you hit,
Mhm.
brother? What'd you do? You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
like that's what happened all the time in high school and stuff. But now, like for a lot of the men here who do want to be in a relationship, who do want to, have that, it's important to like just make sure, guys, that you are abstaining from pornography and stuff. Because the truth is, and AAHANA can speak of it again, the transgender porn. The truth is, like, the mind can't really see. So obviously, like with straight pornography, the mind can't understand if it's going to look at the man or look at the woman, and no
Mhm.
and no grown man who claims to be heterosexual should be looking at a grown man fully naked, you know what I mean? And up, you know what I mean? Doing a woman. That's just like going into somebody's home and then just like they're getting some action on, and then you're watching the man and the woman. It's like that shouldn't happen. So if you guys really want to get into like, you know, restoration with seeing women and stuff like that, then you have to quit pornography. Now, Ahana, this is what I wanted to ask you too: is it okay for the man to, even if he's early on upon his journey? Some people are a little bit scared to go up and talk to a woman for the fear of having like being in a lustful state. Do you feel like they should just go ahead and go and talk to a woman, even if they're early on upon their journey of like quitting pornography and stuff?
I think they should. I mean, people might have different opinions of this. Even Jenny, I don't know I would wonder what Jenny would have to say about this, but I think that the sooner you can get out into the real world and start talking to women, the better, because that might even help you to stay away from the porn if you're actually just connecting with people in real life. I think that the best thing you can do is just to start being normal. like like do what you can to start living a normal life. So I think, as soon as possible, start to get out there and talk to people. Start to acclimate yourself to social situations more, learn how to be more social, make more friends. I think that's actually the first place to start, is by expanding your friend group. Start like building up some hobbies, start taking some classes, whatever it is you want to do. Like, I don't know, start to build your male friendship circle. And, when you see women who you're attracted to, just talk to them, just, I think that it's never too soon to start, you know, being normal, just to start getting out there into the real world and interacting with people, because the sooner you start that, the more comfortable you're going to be, and you know it's just going to make things happen quicker for you, I think.
100%. Wow. And you mentioned like approaching the woman and so on and so forth.
Hmm.
So like for the men that do want to go out, you know what I mean, and taking this advice and going out, talking to women, um, I think people are like, the red pill community is very, very huge. There's certain tactics on how to get, oh, the woman's number. Hey, say this and you'll get the woman's number. Say that and so on and so forth. So, what's your take upon like men approaching women? People say that you can't approach women in the gym and you can't approach a woman in this certain way.
Hmm.
What is it? From a woman's point, what would you say about that?
I think it's very case by case. I think, there's some people who don't want to be approached at all in the gym, and then there's some people who want to be more social in the gym. I think you kind of have to look at the woman who you're interested in, and just kind of notice her cues. So like maybe you make eye contact with her, she makes eye contact with you, maybe she smiles at you, maybe she'll wave at you or something, or maybe you wave at her and you see what she does. But like she should give you some kind of green light. She'll give you some kind of indication that she's like open to you approaching her. I wouldn't recommend approaching women who are giving you the clear signs that they don't want to talk. So like if you're making eye contact with a woman and she's just like looking away, looking down, she's got kind of like a frown on her face, she doesn't look open, I
Yeah.
wouldn't approach her. Or if she's like, she's got her headphones in, she's looking down, she's not really like
Yeah.
looking all around her, I would say just don't approach her. But if you see a woman and she's smiling back at you and she's maybe giving you a little wave, or if you start to notice that she's kind of walking by you, chances are she's trying to get your attention. And so
Mhm.
you can open up the conversation, you can say hi to her, you can talk to her, um or anything. I mean, I'm trying to think about the last time something happened in, I mean, it doesn't even have to, I mean, outside of like gym scenarios, even in your day-to-day life, just building familiarity with people who you see on a regular basis. So like, I don't know, let's say you go to a certain coffee shop at the same time each week, just taking the time to learn the names of the people who work there and just saying
Right.
hi to them when you walk in, asking them about their lives, just starting to get familiar with the people who you see on a day-to-day basis. I think that's a really good place to start. And then, from there, as you get more familiarized with people, you're going to start to feel more comfortable introducing yourself to more people. You can pick up on the signs on the people around you. And, talking to women should come a bit more naturally after you've built that familiarity with people, I think.
Exactly. Yeah, I totally agree because like approaching like whether it be the cafe, so on and so forth, like it's definitely good to just connect, because
Mhm.
at the end of the day, women are also human beings too. I think that a lot of people put women in a state of like they're just not no different than
Mhm.
like men in terms of like having a regular conversation, things like that. Uh,
Mhm.
so yeah, so amen. Let's go. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Let's go. So we also have a question from William. It says, how many days sober are you both?
From porn, I don't even know. I don't even know the last time I watched porn. I don't keep track of it
That's
anymore.
what it is. Come on now. Let's go. She's stacking up the days. Let's go. She's stacking up the years. That's what I'm talking about. Listen.
It's just not like, I think that's the thing that I think the no-fap people get wrong sometimes, is that they're so focused on the days and they're so focused on how long they're staying away from their drug of choice, that their life still kind of revolves around it in a certain way. Like, you know, I always bring up the example of heroin. Like heroin is like a pretty hard drug that most people aren't doing. And it's not as if everyone is waking up every day counting the amount of time they're spending not doing heroin. It's just like
Right.
not even a part of it's not even in their consciousness. And I
Yeah.
think that's the goal that, most people want to get to. If you have a problem with porn, you want to get to a point in your life where you're just not even thinking about it because there are just other things that are taking up your time.
100%. It's like brushing your teeth, washing your face. Like you have to.
Yeah.
People, I've seen people have like calendars. You know what I mean? On day one. What if you got to go, brother? What if you got to go 2,000 days? You're not gonna say on one day 1900, then 1901. You know what I mean? Like I couldn't imagine doing that. You know what I mean?
No,
But
yeah.
but if anybody wants to know Ahana's, like journey, I I'm close to 6 years now. I started following her when I was like 4 months in, 3 months in, you know what I mean? So she's been on it for, a long time. So she's one of the real OGs for that, you know? So shout out to Ahana. 100%, 100%. Cool. So yeah, so is there any last minute maybe advice you would give to like men who, want to quit pornography, want to lead a relationship in terms of like, just getting this restored and everything?
Yeah, I would honestly, I think watch Steve Irwin. Honestly, I think that's a really good starting point for a lot of guys out there, because I think when guys want to stop watching porn, they don't necessarily have the right motivations all the time. Like, it's not about, uh, I don't know. I think that that, the whole reason why porn is being pushed on the masses is to remove the ability to love, and that comes in all different areas of your life. It comes in how you relate with women, and it comes with how you relate with your life in general. You have to find something in your life that you are so passionate about, that you want to devote your life to, that gives you inspiration every day, that gives you something to wake up for. And if you look at Steve Irwin, he was so passionate about these crocodiles, and I read something about how neither him and his wife, they didn't drink, they didn't smoke,
Awesome.
and it wasn't something that they were thinking about all the time. They were just so passionate about something else in their life that took up all their energy and all their time. And that's ultimately what got him the type of wife that he had. And Terry Irwin was such a devoted woman, like she just loved him for exactly who he was. She wasn't concerned with his money, with his fame. She just loved him. And even after he died, she still, she says that she's never going to be with another guy again. She had the love of her life. And I think a lot of guys dream of having a woman who's as devoted as she was. And I think that if you want to attract a woman like that, you have to be a man who's worthy of that. And part of that is devoting your life to something that feeds your soul every day. And so, you figure out what that is. Like getting rid of porn is a tool for you to figure out what you're actually passionate about in your life. And so when you find that thing, give it your all, try to be the best that you can, and things will fall into place after that, I think.
Wow. Wow. Come on now. Gems on top of gems. Let's go. I'm talking about. Yeah. So that's awesome. So we also have a question. Since you have been sober, has it been easy to find a relationship? I'm sure your confidence is really high. I don't know if you want to take that or.
Yeah, so I mean, like I mentioned before, I'm not married and I'm not in a relationship right now, so it's not like I'm some kind of relationship expert. I'm not someone who considers myself a relationship expert, I'm an expert in terms of like the way pornography affects people and how to stay away from people who watch it. But in terms of my own life, something that has been difficult is being in like the dating scene, is seeing just how much pornography has affected the men out here,
Yeah.
and how it can be rare to come across a guy who's not watching it. But I think that my own addiction impacted me in some pretty negative ways that made it difficult to have a healthy relationship. And so, Jenny, my business partner, she used to be my relationship coach. That's actually how I found out about her, is because she also does relationship coaching.
Yeah.
She has a website called takethelovepill.com where she writes all these different articles about love and relationships. And when I first found her, I was really struggling with love and with relationships. And so she really helped to transform my thinking and to help me build up my self-esteem and confidence after having gone so long, you know, with the impacts of watching so much porn in my life and everything. And so, since working with her, I definitely feel healthier in my mind. And I've had a much different experience when it comes to relationships. Like I'm much less willing to put up with things that, aren't good for my soul and everything. But yeah, I'm still single. I'm still trying to find that relationship that makes sense for me. But I'm more optimistic now that I have a much better idea of what a healthy relationship is supposed to look like. So,
Percent.
yeah.
100%. Yeah, I would definitely say like I think like especially on the dating scene, I know that like it's very even I feel like maybe on both sides too,
Mhm.
because I know that there's a lot of like relationships out there, but the men are still watching pornography, things like that. Um, but I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't know how it is with the woman's side, but um, like the wrong woman doesn't really appreciate like the man who's on his sexual purity journey,
Hmm.
because maybe she's probably going through that too. But
Hmm.
I guess the right woman will appreciate that too. Like if you're on the dating scene, like let's say you go on a date and stuff, and then he says that, hey, he's on a sexual purity journey, like, is that a green flag for you? Is that like a, green flag?
I guess it depends. It depends. Like I would have to look at the person as a whole package, Like if I like if he says that, my immediate thought would be something like, "Oh, so was he like really addicted to porn before?" Or cuz I think that most of the time, like even for women, like Jenny talks about this too, like how if someone goes from one extreme to another, it could still be a sign of addiction in them, versus like people who have never struggled with a deep addiction. They tend to just have a more balanced approach to everything. So I would have to kind of just assess the guy as a whole, like if he's very passive and very awkward, but he's on a sexual purity journey. I wouldn't necessarily see that as a good thing. But if he's got things going on in his life, if he's got passions in his life, if he's got, something he's devoted himself to, and he's got, clear signs of health in his life,
Yep.
then, sure. But I think, yeah, I think case by case, it's so hard to put people into boxes and so hard to like put things onto checklists. I think it's more just about the whole person and seeing, if they're a good match for you. And honestly, like at least in my experience, anytime I've really felt like I loved a man, there's almost like nothing he could say that would turn me off in a certain way. I think that when you really are into someone, you tend to be a lot more forgiving of their flaws, and things don't really seem to phase you as
Yeah.
much, I don't think. But yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I definitely do like understand that too.
Hmm.
Like, making sure that the man has like a purpose too. So that's why like we teach about like sexual transmutation. So,
Hmm.
you use your energy, you quit watch pornography, and then you transmute it out to your purpose, your goals, your hobbies, and just growing in general. Mentally, physically, every aspect of your life. So, that's definitely important. Having the correct mindset, because we've gotten a lot of calls too, and a lot of the guys, they say, hey, what's your purpose? And they'll be 24, 25 years old, and they don't know what they want to do in life. You know what I mean?
Hmm. But that's okay. I think as long as they're, experimenting and exploring and just seeing what fits for them, I think it's more about like their willingness to try things versus like taking a passive role in their life. That's the most important thing.
100%. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I definitely do agree with that for sure. Awesome. So, last question, I promise you. Okay. So, the top 5 benefits, okay, and I know you're, wait, before we get into that, because I remember we talked before, and you said your mindset kind of changed upon Nofap and stuff. So what's your take upon Nofap now? Like,
Well, I think that Nofap, like for someone who suffers from a pretty severe porn addiction, it can be a good way to start things off in their lives in the right direction. But after a certain point, like, Nofap people can be kind of weird sometimes. I think that like people who make their lives about Nofap, it can be just as problematic as someone who makes their lives all about porn. Because like
yeah,
we talked about before, I think the whole point of NoFap is to give you a starting point in your life to put things on the right direction.
yeah,
But after a certain point, your life should be about something else. It should be about a passion. It should be about something that you're putting your soul into. And all of these other topics like porn and nofap, they should just kind of like naturally fade away from your life because they're being replaced by your purpose, by healthy relationships, by things you're invested in, by your faith, whatever it is. Like when you're putting the right things in your life, all the bad things will just kind of like fall away.
100%. So awesome. So if you can say like the top 5 benefits that you've noticed, because I know you've been on your journey too.
Hmm.
What are the top 5 benefits that you've noticed and just noticed in general? About
I
yeah,
think a stronger connection to people, number one, like being able to have more empathy for people, because I think watching porn really removes people's ability to empathize and connect with other people.
Yeah.
So just much more fulfilling connections, more fulfilling relationships, not only with men, but with, you know, friendships, with family. You just feel a stronger connection to people in general. So that's number one. I would say number two is more happiness, more stable mood. You know, you're not as impacted by this demonic energy that's coming into your life, because porn is a very demonic thing. It really brings in a whole lot of dark energy that can manifest as anxiety, depression, low self-esteem. So without that, you just like when you're not doing something that you're ashamed of, you will naturally feel more confident in yourself. You're going to naturally have a more positive view of yourself, and it's going to impact the way you behave in your day-to-day life. So there's that. And then I would say also the ability to love, which I guess goes along with the empathy thing. But yeah, I don't know. You just feel more capable of love. You feel more capable of like feeling things, because porn makes you a zombie. It makes you very numb. And when you get rid of it, you feel more sensitive to everything in life. You feel more sensitive physically, but also emotionally too. Like you just feel more for things. Then let's see, another one, I would say, I guess just having a more enriched life, like being, you know, when you're not watching porn, you have more time and energy to focus on other things in your life. So you have more hobbies, more interests. You're more well-rounded as a person. And I think people respect you more too, because you like, even if no one in your life technically knows that you're watching porn, you doing it is gonna impact you in a way that changes how you interact with people. It's gonna make people respect you less. Versus
Exactly.
when you do things that, you know, you're proud of, people respect you more. So yeah.
Awesome. Let's go. That's what I'm talking about. Let's go. Well, first of all, Hannah, we really appreciate you for coming on. Definitely some words of wisdom, words of advice, and I'm pretty sure all of you guys have got some out of it too. And we'll catch you guys in the next video. Have a good one. Peace out.
Awesome. Oh, and can I just real quick
Do
say
your
something?
thing. Go
Sorry.
ahead.
I also just want to say, if there happen to be any women on here watching this, definitely go check out he'sanaddict.com. We have a lot of content up there to help you women learn how to spot the signs of porn addiction in men, and learn how to become better at attracting men who don't watch porn. So that's that.
Let's go. That's what I'm talking about. Awesome. Yeah, so definitely go subscribe to her channel. I'll put the link in the description down below. Be sure to like her, subscribe to her, so on and so forth. Her and Jenny, they go off. You know what I mean? They go off. But awesome, guys. You guys have a blessed one. I'll see you guys soon. Take care.
Bye, guys.